Alright, what's up guys? This is the Osmo.com strategy video. I'm Jake Hari. Josh is not here. He's still on vacation. If you guys didn't know, he's been missing in action for a little while. And I was on vacation as well, so now I'm back and ready to talk some baseball. We've got 10 games to talk about tonight. I'm just going to wait for some people to start trickling in a little bit. What's up, Makad? I don't know. What do you guys think of this slate? I'm going to try to get you guys involved as much as possible. If anybody's got any talking points that they want to hit on before the slate, that would be nice. Chris is not here, but this is the only background I had. So I just used this. Didn't want to bother Josh to try to get a new background because he's a lot more tech fave. See my second favorite. Yeah, thanks, Doc. I am finally back. Is Chris Pags going to wake up? No, he is not. Chris is not supposed to be on here. This is the background I just had to use. Yeah, thank you, DJ Killikev. That's my new niece. Yeah, she's awesome. So, was super excited to meet her yesterday, and yeah, now we're just talking baseball. It's weird to be an uncle, but here we are, I guess. All right, 10 games. I'm just going to go through game by game like me and Josh usually do. I don't have all the cool spreadsheets that Josh does, but we'll just I'll just kind of run it like the night shift since we didn't have a night shift, so I'll just go through game by game. If you guys have any questions while I'm on the game, since I'm just going to be going over them very quickly, just let me know, and we'll just talk about each game. And then I won't be able to do crunches either, so that's too bad, but whatever. You guys will live. So let's go with Yankees and Phillies, and I'm not going to talk about the early slate. I'm not playing it. I wouldn't suggest anybody play a 2-game slate for any significant volume. So let's go Yankees and Phillies. We got Jonathan Loaisiga against Vince Velasquez. Loaisiga is a minus 145 favorite right now on the road. Oh, we've got early MLB ownership. Nice. Anyways, so I could see Loaisiga getting a bunch of strikeouts here against the Phillies. He's priced at a decent spot. I think 7,300, 6,400 on FanDuel is also a pretty nice price, and I actually like both sides of the pitching here. So I don't mind Loaisiga in GPPs. I think he's going to be a little bit too highly owned for me, but I still think he's a fine play. Velasquez, on the other hand, I don't think he's going to be super highly owned. The Yankees have a 4.7 run total. Velasquez is 6,600, and you kind of know what you're getting from him. It's never fun to play a pitcher against the Yankees, but Velasquez does have huge strikeout upside here at home. He pitches better at home. He's got the stuff to have a huge strikeout game here. So that's why I like Velasquez. He could absolutely get blasted, but there's nothing new there for him. He's going to see 6 righties, it looks like. Only lefties I'm seeing in the Yankees lineup are Gardner, Gregorius, and Greg Bird. So Velasquez is much better against righties, walks less of them, and he's at home here. Yeah, it's a powerful Yankee lineup, but one that definitely has some strikeouts in it. If you are targeting against either of these pitchers, really, so on the Philadelphia side, I like Santana, Nick Williams, and Rhys Hoskins, of course. 5K, righty. It doesn't really matter for this guy. Odubel Herrera, 5,100. Wow, I didn't see that last night. But I like Santana for 46. And then on the Yankees side, if you're targeting against Velasquez, I think that Greg Bird, Aaron Judge, and Didi Gregorius are my favorites there. I love Snell today. Really. I love Snell as a pitcher, but we'll talk about him in a little while. I think a few more games we'll get to Snell. All right, Seattle and Baltimore. We've got Felix Hernandez against Andrew Cashner. Big total in this game. It's over 9.5 right now. Felix is a -117 favorite against Cashner. Weather looks fine in this game. 78 degrees, a little bit of wind blowing in. Not that you want a ton of pitching here, but I actually like Felix Hernandez, and I don't think it's going to take much to be over the field. So the Orioles are just a team that I just continue to target, and it's been pretty profitable. So, and then Felix has, over his last 3 starts, O-swing percentage of 40.7% against the Rays, 37.3% against the Red Sox, and then 36.4% against the Yankees. So in those games, he also had a 13.2% swinging strike rate, 9.6%, and then 15.8%. And I don't know where it's coming from, but I want to take advantage of it. So we know how much the Orioles strike out, and Felix has been good. There's no getting around that. I was a huge Felix hater even as far as like a month ago, but 3 straight starts where he was getting chases and he was missing bats has me, yeah, exactly, righty-dominated lineup. So, Lorenza, I agree with you. It is a righty-righty thing, too. So, Chris Davis and Colby Rasmus are looking like the only lefties. And did Chris Davis have a hot weekend? I barely played at all this weekend. So someone let me know how Chris Davis did this weekend. I don't know if that's a joke, the Chris Davis 2.0 thing, but yeah, the fastball is so bad now, but so are the Orioles. And a lot of righties, and Felix has been good. So, Baltimore bats, if I was taking one, it would be Manny Machado, just because he's the best hitter on the team, and it's not even close. Donged off Newcomb, lefty. All right, well, good thing I didn't play DFS this week. Cashner, on the other side, for some reason he's striking out a lot of lefties, almost 24%. I don't see why he would be, based on his stuff, and he's striking out 14% of righties. You take Jones? Yeah, I don't mind Jones. I mean, I just think that Machado is a much better hitter than anyone else in the lineup. So if I'm taking a one-off from the Orioles, it would be Machado, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. Cashner, I mean, so the Seattle bats should be pretty popular here. 5-run total on the road in Baltimore, good hitting environment, and then it is Cashner, and people love to target against Cashner, and I get why. He walks almost 4 guys per 9, 4 lefties per 9. But like I said, he's randomly striking out 24% of them on the season still. It looks like the quality of contact he's been giving up hasn't been great. So maybe he hasn't been the best guy to stack against, but I still don't think he's anything special, especially at this point in his career. Mitch Haniger, Nelson Cruz, Kyle Seager, those are the main guys I want, but I'm pretty sure it's a good speed matchup, and I forgot to check this last night. I made a note of it, but I'll check it really quick. I think Cashner is very easy to steal on, and all these guys kind of run together, so let's just see if I remember that correctly. Yeah, you can steal on Cashner for sure. You know, he's not Noah Syndergaard or Tyson Ross or Lester or something, but you can definitely steal on Cashner, and D. Gordon and Segura have speed, so I like the speed at the top. I like Haniger, Cruz, and Seager as well. So the top 5 is really what I'm targeting with Seattle bats. They're going to be popular. I don't think we need to talk about them too much. Arizona and Miami. Shelby Miller going up against Dan Straley. So Shelby Miller making his debut for the season. 6,500 on the road against Miami. He has 4 starts in the minors this year. 1 blow-up start for Shelby Miller, but then the rest of them look actually pretty good. Let me get these numbers back up here. So he only started in Double-A and Single-A, high Single-A, but still encouraging numbers for him. Can't put too much weight into that as far as the strikeout numbers and all of that, but Miller was good. and the level that he's pitched so far this year. So it's at least encouraging, maybe not stacking against him. And if I remember correctly, he was starting to turn things around in his career before he got hurt, and people were actually playing him in DFS. I remember playing him in DFS. I don't know, maybe I was just a fish and was playing Shelby Miller for no reason, but he threw 80 pitches in his last start, so you could theoretically use him here. I don't know that I want to, making the jump from Double-A to the majors and having not pitched in however long. I don't think he pitched all last season, or maybe he pitched in the beginning of last season. Yeah, he might be on a pitch count. Yeah, so 80 pitches in his last start. I mean, it's not going to be a 60 pitch count or anything like that. So you could use him for 6,500. I don't think I'm going to. But I also don't want to target mini Miami bats. JT Realmuto, if you're paying up for catcher and you want a one-off, that's fine with me. But I like the Marlins against lefties a lot, and I barely play them against righties. If Shelby is chalk, yeah. Well, if Shelby's chalk, I mean, we don't have our ownership projections up for the main slate yet. But if he comes in as chalky, then yeah, I'd probably be a little more interested in the Marlins bats, just because I don't think Shelby would be a great play at chalk tonight. I think there are some better options around him and below him. So let's go with the other side of this game. Dan Straley, he is allowing 50% hard contact on the year, almost no soft contact too. So I mean, he is just giving up a ton of line drives, not striking guys out. It's going to be really, really tough for him if he continues to pitch like this, especially against this Arizona team now finally woken up. You've got 5 lefties in a row in the middle of this lineup for Straley, and not that it really matters. He doesn't discriminate against righties or lefties. Straley just gives up loads and loads of quality contact against both sides. So I love Goldschmidt. He's a spotlight hitter. Oh, by the way, guys, go check out the spotlight hitters, pitchers, and stacks. I publish on all of them right before I came on here, so go check those out. And I'm probably repeating some of the stuff that I said in there, so I won't give too much away. I want you to read those, and I'm probably better at writing than talking anyways, so it might sound more clear than me talking in circles here. But anyways, Straley just giving up a ton of hard contact, and I always reference this stat. It's one of my favorite things to look at when stacking against a pitcher, how often he gets or gives away hard hit balls. And then you've got Goldschmidt, who's just scorching hot, and that's not the reason to play him. The reason to play him is because Straley's been bad against righties. 4.5 xFIP. He's got a 46% fly ball rate. And then if this is in Miami, they open the roof, 84 degrees. That would be nice hitting weather, a little bit of a bump to these Arizona hitters. And then you've got Lamb, Peralta, Descalso. Josh hates Descalso, but I love Descalso. I think he's a much improved hitter over the last year or so. And then Ketel Marte, I don't mind using him. Probably not going to go down to Dyson or Mathis, but I think those top 7 for Arizona are all viable for stacks. And Straley's one of my favorite guys to stack against. He's just so prone to blow up starts, high whip, all of that good stuff that you like to see. Let's see. Jay Avila, D-backs are viable. Oh, yeah, for sure. If Avila's in the lineup, then yeah, you can use him too. I think he hit a home run this weekend, right? Yeah, he's back. I don't know if he's back to being like, he was legitimately hitting the ball as hard as anyone last year for the first 3/4 of the year probably. So I was just jamming him in all the time. He was like 3K on the Tigers, went over to the Cubs, was still hitting pretty well, and then this year he's just been god-awful until apparently this weekend. So, oh, we've got ownership projections for the main. Nice. All right, I'll start referencing those as we go along. If you guys are joining in right now, I'm going game by game. Josh is gone. Chris is not going to be joining me. This is the only background I had, so just went with it. Chris will be on the live stream with me tonight, though. We will be basically back on our regular schedule. Josh will be back on Thursday morning, I believe. That's subject to change, but that's the plan right now. He's just on vacation. I was on vacation this weekend, so we were a little bit light on content, but we are back for this 10-game slate, and now we're going to go to Pittsburgh and the Mets once again. File in any questions, try to get them as I'm on the game so we can just power right through this. Yeah, Pittsburgh and the Mets. Good morning, Kevin. Tyon against Seth Lugo. So Tyon, I wonder if he's going to be a popular option, and this would probably be a good time to check the ownership projections. Let's see here. DraftKings main. If you are not a premium subscriber, you won't be able to view these. I'll give away a few of them, but ownership projections, I think that we have some of the best, and they're updated throughout the day as lineups come in. I think we do a very good job of them, and they're my favorite tool that I use for the premium. So I would suggest you guys get those. Oh, Padres, wow. A couple of the Padres a little bit more chalky than I expected, but I thought they're going to be more sneaky than that. But Tyon looks like he's going to be the third most popular pitcher right now. 7,900 on the road. Yeah, it's the Jake and co-host Chris show. 7,900 on the road. I think Tyon's going to struggle against the top three for the Mets. He struggles against lefties, and these are all good hitters, at least by the stuff that I look at. I really, really like Nimmo just as a player, and I like Asdrubal Cabrera more than most people, I think. For some reason, he doesn't get the respect as a good hitter, and he hits well from both sides. Conforto, we know, has a bunch of power. Tyon only striking out 17% of lefties, a 154 whip. Does a good job getting ground balls, but gives up a lot of line drives, and then a lot more hard contact. So I'm worried about Tyon in this matchup. If he's going to be chalk, then I'll even take some of those top three Mets. I don't know, maybe some Todd Frazier, but for me, it really drops off after those top three for the Mets. So I get why Tyon is going to be a chalky play, but I'm more on the take a bat or two or maybe even three against him in this spot if he's going to be one of the most highly owned pitchers on the day. Seth Lugo on the other side for the Mets. So I liked Lugo. I mean, I should say I do like Lugo as a pitcher. He actually grades out very well for me just based on my pitching model. And I don't even know if you want to call it a model, but it's what I use. Just weighed certain stats a little bit heavily, some lighter than others. Pretty much all the stuff I referenced, just put it all together and come up with an output for the pitchers for that day. But Lugo is striking out 27% of lefties, 3.26 xFIP against them. And then against righties, he's also been pretty solid, 27% of righties, 1.21 whip, 287 xFIP for Seth Lugo. And that's with that awful start in Coors he had last time. I'm sort of throwing that out. I don't know. I'm not going to hold a start against, or I'm not going to hold a Coors start against Lugo. And then over the last month, Pittsburgh has a 79 WRC plus and only 143 ISO against right-handed pitching. So they haven't been that great. Lugo is at home here. A little bit of wind blowing in, just over about mid-70s for this game. So not terrible pitching weather, but just sort of neutral. And I like Lugo for 7,100. And if Tyon's going to be the chalk, so I'm sort of zigging on this game while other people zag, because I'm not super in love with Tyon, and then I like Lugo, and he doesn't look like he's going to be, well, he's about half the ownership of Tyon. I'd much rather take a shot on Lugo than Tyon here. I don't know. Is that a hot take? I don't know. What do you guys think? If I'm targeting a Pittsburgh bat against Lugo, then it would be either Meadows or Moran, just two guys that hit righties very hard. Oh, it is a hot take. Okay. Oh, interesting. Let's get to my game-by-game breakdown here. Okay, so Meadows has a 41.9% hard hit rate against righties, while Moran is 33. Their ISOs aren't that high, but I think they should be. They've both got decent. Well, Moran a better on base percentage. So there's going to be some landmines here for Lugo. It's just a matter of whether or not he can navigate them. But for 7,100, I think he's a good pitcher. I think it's a neutral matchup, and I think he's going to be too low owned compared to some of the other guys. So that's why I'm on Lugo. I had 9 dogs in my lap. Did Herman get blown up yesterday? Domingo for the Yankees? Because that's who I would have played, probably. All right. Let's move on to the next game. Not a lot of bats I like in the Mets-Pirates game, outside of maybe a mini Mets stack and then 1 or 2 guys on Pittsburgh. But Lugo is the main talking point there for me. Washington and Tampa Bay. Gio Gonzalez going up against Blake Snell. I don't have a strong opinion on Gio. I rarely do. He's 9,200. He's always priced like, seems like 10% too high for me to want to use him. But he is in Tampa. I'm not all that scared of any of these Tampa hitters. I mean, I like Ramos. I like CJ Cron against lefties. And then Robertson's actually been okay. But, I mean, if you want to use Gio, that's all you. I don't want to use Gio at 9,200. But it is a good park and a pretty good matchup. So let's move on to Snell. I think Snell is phenomenal as a pitcher. He's 10-1, so he's overpriced. And then this Nationals lineup is really tough. It's a little softer for lefties because you got Bryce and Soto and Daniel Murphy from the left side. But going back to last year, Murphy actually rakes against lefties. So that's not some throwaway hitter just because he's in a lefty-lefty. Snell has the stuff to dominate this Nationals lineup. There's no doubt about that. I think that he is awesome. It's just so many good hitters in this Nationals lineup. So you got Rendon, you got Trey Turner. Like I said, Murphy can hit lefties. Michael Taylor hits lefties really hard but doesn't make a lot of contact. Severino I'm not too worried about, and the Defoe I'm not too worried about. I don't know. I mean, I want to use Snell here. I don't think he'll be highly owned at all. And, you know, he's not really a pivot to Verlander, but he is. I think he may not have the same upside that Verlander does, but I think he's got point per dollar higher upside than a Verlander, and he's half the ownership it looks like right now. So it's interesting for those aspects. I don't know. I mean, if you don't want to use Snell, if you don't want to target against this Nationals lineup, I haven't been doing it pretty much at all since Daniel Murphy came back. But if you don't want to do it, you know, I understand that. But I think Snell does have quite a bit of upside. The Nationals haven't been one of the better teams against lefties this year, surprisingly. So I'll leave it at that. I think Rendon and Turner both make for decent options as one-offs if you're targeting against Snell. Bryce hit 3 doubles yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, Snell has the talent to dominate most matchups, and you will get some of their better hitters from the left side here, which is a plus. You're not too worried about the bottom of the lineup. There's strikeouts to be had, and then Defoe and Severino is just not that scary, but they get a DH here. I don't know. I mean, I can make a case for either way. I just love Snell. I think he's so talented. So if I can get him at somewhat lower ownership and at home too, then I'm definitely going to take some shots on Snell. I'll probably be over the field on him. Cincinnati and Atlanta. Tyler Mahle against Mike Foltynewicz. So Mahle, I mentioned this for a couple starts in a row for him, but he's getting blasted by lefties on the year. He's allowing a 48% hard hit rate, 5.09 xFIP, and then 23.8% line drive rate with a 403 WOBA. So he's going to get 4 lefties right off the bat. Inciarte, Albies, Freeman, Marquez, assuming they keep things the same way they have against righties. And I love them all as a stack. You only have to use up 2 of your outfield spots. You don't have to use up 3 like you do with like that Met stack with Bruce Conforto and I can't remember Nimmo. But anyways, you can do 2 through 4. You can do 1 through 3. It doesn't really matter. I like Markakis a lot for 4,200 batting cleanup against Molly. But I'd even go down the lineup with Camargo and down to Kurt Suzuki in the 5th spot. So I like the Braves. They're going to spotlight stack. Not a ton of respect for Molly, especially against lefties. Just getting obliterated by them. So I will have a bunch of Braves stacks. Snell and Cash? Ooh, man. I probably wouldn't do it in cash, but I'm not a big cash player, so I'm just thinking GPP angle. So I don't really want to comment on Snell and Cash. I mean, if he makes your lineup fit, and let's say you can fit Verlander and some of the bats you want, then sure. I mean, I think you take the 2 most talented pitchers, but if he was a little, I probably wouldn't play Snell and Cash. I'll say that. All right. Talked about the Braves stack. We've got Fulton-Nevich going against the Reds. It's 85 degrees here. It's good hitting weather. That's also why I like the Braves. But anyways, Fulton-Nevich making his first start in 13 days. I think he's clearly overpriced here. He's a minus 150 favorite, and he's had some huge starts. I don't know that this is going to be one of them. Cincinnati, not the greatest strikeout matchup. Fulton-Nevich, like I said, hasn't made a start in 13 days. He will be low owned. That's the one good thing I can say about him, but I don't think I'm going to be going here. I'd rather go and save 1,700 and go to Snell in a tougher matchup. That's just me, though. Like, I get it. Fultie's had these crazy big starts, like 10Ks. He's had a complete game shutout against the Nationals, but I don't see this as being one of them, especially not for that price. I'm not willing to eat that 11.8K price tag for him. I like Scooter Gennett and Botto, and then my boy Eugenio Suarez. Pretty much anytime he's on the slate, 5K, he's going to be very low owned, but he's just such a good hitter this year. Just crushes everything. And yeah, so I don't know that I'm going out of my way to stack against Fulton-Nevich, but if it ends up that I get Votto and Gennett and Suarez in one lineup, I think that would be perfectly fine. Like I said, 85 degrees here in a lefty-friendly park, too. So, oh, that's what he's saying. Anyways, San Diego and Texas. This is going to be probably the most popular game for hitters. Joey Lucchesi going up against Cole Hamels, my boy. Cole Hamels, my arch nemesis, Cole Hamels. So Lucchesi, all right, I'll say it off the top. I don't think that either of these pitchers are good plays. It's incredibly risky to play anyone in this ballpark when it's going to be 93 degrees and the wind blowing in. I don't think that really matters that much in this park, if I remember correctly. But incredibly risky for both sides. The Rangers lineup looks much better. So, you know, if this was a shorter slate and Lucchesi was priced down, I'd probably have interest in him because I think he's pretty good. But the Rangers lineup looks much better with Beltre and Andrus in it. Just 2 righties that hit lefties well. And then just that weather, man. So I love Beltre. I love Andrus against Lucchesi. 43% hard hit rate against righties for him. You can stack them up for sure. Crazy things happen. The ball is going to be flying off the bat here. And don't really pay attention to that wind blowing in. At least I wouldn't be. So you can play Mazzara. You can play Chu. Even down to Gallo. I like Chirinos as a mid-tier catcher option for 3,300. Profar or Andrus? I would go Andrus. Hamels on the other side. I'm not paying 10K for him in this park. I just can't do it. I know he's been good, and I need to get off of my hard hit bias for Cole Hamels because that's why I always want to stack against him. But still, over 45% hard contact for him to righties this year. I can't just ignore that, especially not in this weather. If you're giving up hard hits in this weather, they have a good chance to be going very, very far. Will Myers back. So I didn't see that. I don't know when he came back, but I'm seeing him in the projected lineup, so I'm assuming he is back. I like Myers. I love Hunter Renfroe and Christian Villanueva, even Jose Perella and Margot down there as well. And then Hedges hits lefties well, too. So I don't know what's not to like about this Padres stack. I know Will Myers is going to be chalky. We have him being pretty much the chalk first baseman, and I get that leading off against Cole Hamels in this weather. But then you've got quite a big drop-off. We've got pretty low projections for Hunter Renfroe, Hedges, AJ Ellis if he's in there. And really the only two guys that I'm worried about being crazy chalk are Myers and Perella based on what I'm seeing right now. Damn, you have to play Padres, Jake. Yeah, I'm definitely playing Padres. I've just had a really tough time with Cole Hamels this year. Played him a couple times. Stacked against him a ton of times. I thought he was done at the beginning of the season, but he sure proved me wrong. So I'll take the L on Cole Hamels for the year. I think that the Padres make for a very good stack tonight against him. If they're going to be the chalk stack, I don't think they're the best stack on the night, but they're priced well, and they're getting a lefty, and they've got a bunch of hitters that hit lefties really well. So what's not to like about them? All right, let's move on to Toronto and Houston. J.A. Happ against Justin Verlander. Happ has had a very, very impressive season. He's got good numbers. Well, he's got elite numbers against lefties, very good numbers against righties, but this is like the worst matchup you can imagine for him. Over the last month, Houston has a 130 WRC plus against lefties. They're hitting for power. They're getting on base. They're just creating all types of problems for lefties, and he's going to get 9 of them. Not one lefty, not one break in this lineup, and he's going to get 6 hitters right off the top of the lineup. So Springer, Bregman, Altuve, Correa, Gurriel, and Gaddis that I all love, and I like their matchups against Happ. I'll take any of those guys against lefties. I don't think Happ is an elite lefty. He's elite against left-handed hitters, but not against righties. The numbers drop quite a bit. So I'm on this Houston stack, and I think it's going to come in very low owned because there is respect for Happ, but I think it's gone maybe a little bit too far if we see these guys under 5% or a handful of them under 5%, which is looking like we are going to see that. So that's just interesting. Houston against a lefty, one of my favorite stacks, even if it is Happ. All right. Other side of this game, Verlander is my number 1 pitcher of the night, and it's not really that close. He's amazing against both righties and lefties, striking out almost 30% of righties, over 30% of lefties. This has the feeling of a double-digit K game for him, which he's done already a handful of times this year. So you could fit him with some of these lower-priced options on the slate. If you want to bite the bullet with Shelby Miller, if you want to play Lugo, or Felix, or Velasquez, Loic, there are guys that you can fit in Verlander pretty easily. So I'm all over him. I don't care that he's going to be chalk. I don't think any of these options are particularly close to him. Maybe maybe Clevenger or Snell could match him, but Verlander has such a high likelihood of being in the top 2 raw scoring pitchers that you may need him, especially if he has a big K game like he's shown as recently as last start. So Verlander, my number 1, and it's not really that close. Toronto bats, I am off. I don't think you need to target against Verlander on a 10-game slate. All right. I guess J. pronounces his name as if there was a Y at the end, as in J. Oh, so it's just J. Happ, not J.A. Interesting. All right, let's move on. Second to last game here, we've got Mike Clevenger against John Gant. Clevenger, I think he's probably my number 2 tonight if on a raw point perspective. Back-to-back games with 10 strikeouts against the White Sox. This is a much tougher matchup, but it should suit his game pretty well with all these right-handed bats. He's striking out 25% of righties, a 110 whip, barely walking them, and then St. Louis is striking out over 24% against righties over the last month. 91 WRC plus and 302 on base percentage in that time span. So they have not been that great against righties, and Clevenger has been great against right-handed hitters. So put those two things together, and 11-1 doesn't seem like much of a reach. When you played single lineups, interesting. When you played single lineups and a pitcher was priced like Verlander, did you go for them usually or avoid because of downgrades you had to do in other positions? Well, it depends. I mean, if I liked a cheap stack, if I liked like the Marlins against a lefty, or if there was another team that I thought was underpriced and going to be underowned, then yeah, I would play a guy like Verlander in this spot. I think that he's clearly my number 1. So, you know, I'd like to get my hitting in first and then kind of figure out pitching later if I'm really high on a stack. But I think Verlander is the best play by far. So I would be, if I'm playing single entry, I would just eat the 40% chalk and differentiate elsewhere. So yeah. All right. So I like Clevenger. I think he's a fine play. 11-1. He's on the road. 83 degrees. Wind blowing in a little bit from right, but certainly got the strikeout upside. There's no doubt about that here for Clevenger. So if you want a little bit of a discount off of Verlander, and it is significant, it's $2,200. That's not nothing. Like, I think Verlander's a better play, but if you want to play Clevenger and you want to get up to another big bat or two, then I don't think that's a bad strategy at all. The St. Louis bats, if you're looking for someone to target against Clevenger, I don't think you need to, but lefties can hit him for power. Matt Carpenter or Dexter Fowler. Fowler's only $3K too. I think that's a little bit underpriced for him. So just wanted to mention those two guys. Gant going for the Cardinals is not stretched out at all. Cleveland has a pretty balanced matchup, so they should be fine against either handed pitcher if this game turns into a bullpen game. And then Gant on the year, it's a smaller sample because he is mostly a reliever, but 64% hard hit rate against lefties this year. And I wrote up Chisenhall. I think that Chisenhall is a fantastic play for 3,300, batting 5th. You get to bat behind guys like Lindor and Ramirez and Brantley and Encarnacion, all guys that can get on base. I think that Chisenhall has a good chance to hit with guys on base, especially if he's facing Gant, and that kind of hard hit rate is tough to find for anyone this deep into the season, and he's going to have a smaller sample size, but still pretty alarming there for Gant. And then I'd even go down to like Tyler Naquin at 3,200. I think that the Indians are a pretty nice stack here, and they should be underowned because they're on the road, and because it's going to be a bullpen game for the Cardinals. There's not like some known gas can on the mound. I don't think Gant is some sort of gas can, but I think that they could definitely do some damage against him, and then the Cardinals bullpen after that. All right, this is where we get our 4K pitcher, Cubs and Dodgers. We have Dwayne Underwood against Kenta Maeda. This is Underwood. Is it Underwood or Underwood Jr.? I don't even know. Is it Underwood or Underwood Jr.? Because he's not being recognized on the sheet that I'm looking at. But anyways, we know who this guy is. He threw 98 pitches in his last start a few days ago, 6 days ago that was. And it looks like he's been pretty good in AAA. So the swinging strikes are way up in some of these starts, which I love to see in the minors. Gives up a bunch of fly balls. With that being said, the Dodgers Stadium is not a great hitting park, so that may suit his game a little bit more than it would most other parks. At the very least, I don't think you want to just full-on stack against this guy, Dwayne Underwood. Unless they come out with some pitch count, I'm not seeing any reason why he should be on a pitch count. Like I said, 98 pitches a few days ago. Let's see what his ownership is at, because I didn't see him up at the top. Yeah, we don't have him on the sheet just yet. So, I don't know. We'll probably fix that as the day goes on. But, man, 4K pitcher on a night where you're trying to get a Verlander for 13-3, that seems like a pretty sweet option. I don't think the Dodgers are a great matchup at all, really. But, you know, you could take that risk for 4K, and he's got decent strikeout stuff. And he just allows you to get so much in your lineup. You get a stud pitcher, you get a Clevenger, a Snell, or Verlander, and then pretty much all the bats you want. So that's very, very appealing to me. You know, he's not a 100% guy for me, but I think that he's fine for what he is. And if he gets you double-digit points, you're thrilled for 4K. All right. Maeda on the other side, I'm a little bit worried about Maeda. He's not missing any bats in his first 2 starts back. Not many chases, not many swinging strikes. His pitches are losing some movement, and I mean, his velocity is fine, but the movement, it does not look as sharp as what it was when he was just mowing people down earlier in the season. So if he's seeing a lot of lefties, which I think he will be here, at least a handful of lefties, he'll be seeing Hayward, Zobrist, Rizzo, and Schwarber at least. I'm almost in the stack against Maeda camp, and like I said, it's not a great park for hitting, but he does give up some hard contact against lefties. And then the righties for the Cubs you get to face are Chris Bryant and Wilson Contreras, and Javi Baez. Like, that's not an easy matchup at all for Maeda, especially if he's losing a little bit of movement on his pitches. So I like the Cubs as like a 2% owned full stack. Last game of the night, it's fun late night hammer. But I am a little bit worried about Maeda, so that's why I'm looking at this Cubs stack and might end up very heavy on it compared to the field if it's going to be what we have it at right now. Because that 3.5 run total is going to scare a lot of people off. All right. Yeah, that should pretty much do it. I wish I had crunches to show you guys, but I don't have the cool spreadsheets like Josh. So, you know, when he gets back on Thursday, he'll have, let's see, stacks: Texas chalk, San Diego best value, low owned, Atlanta lefties, Cleveland usual suspects. What do you think, Jake? Yeah, I think that if you're asking if that like kind of sums up what I said, then yeah, I think that that's pretty accurate. Maybe even some of those Mets lefties against Tyon, the first 3 specifically. What do you think of King Felix? Yeah. So I'm interested in Felix for 7K and against the Orioles. I just think the Orioles are such a good matchup for a righty these days. He's going to see 7 righties, and then the lefty he gets to see is Chris Davis. Regardless, if Chris Davis is back to hitting or whatever, he's still going to strike out over 30% of the time against righties. And yeah, if that's the one power lefty you get to face, then I'll take my chances with some Felix. He's not going to be super highly owned, and it's just too good of a matchup to just avoid a 7K pitcher against 7 righties. So I don't love Felix as a pitcher, but he has been better, and the matchup is about as good as it gets. Any more questions? Padres best cash stack? Probably. I don't know that I would full-on stack in cash. You know, I might take a couple hitters. I might take a Perella or maybe a Will Myers in cash against Hamels, but I wouldn't be stacking up any team in cash. I don't think that people really do that in general. You know, we advocate for stacking in tournaments as much as you can. Can you just really early morning? Early morning? I mean, I can look at this. Oh, God. Edwin Jackson against Jordan Zimmerman, and then Skaggs against Brad Keller. They're like, there's not like any of these pitchers I want to use in any of these matchups. So I don't have any interest in the hot 2-game early slate, but just looking at this, I didn't even load up anything. I didn't download any data for this game. Man, I don't know. I mean, Skaggs probably by default, right? But Kansas City's tough as far as strikeouts go. But it'd probably be Skaggs for me. And then, good God. Do you go Edwin Jackson? Do you go Zimmerman? If I remember correctly, Edwin Jackson is really awful against lefties, and he's okay against righties. I don't know. I mean, who are you guys thinking of playing? Because I don't have anything I really want to play in this game. I didn't even see who was pitching for either of these 4 teams, any of these 4 teams. But now looking at that, I'm for sure not playing this because that is about as bad of a 2-game slate as you'll see. So yeah, probably not going to talk too much 2-game slate. Yeah, I'd pretty much rather do anything. Ownership is up for that slate. Would you just fade the chalk if they all suck? I don't know what you mean, Tom. Yeah. Oh, I see. For the early slate. Yeah, we can look at the ownership for that. Let's see. MLB DraftKings early. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So Skaggs is 85%. That is kind of ridiculous for any pitcher on any slate that's not a 1-game slate. I don't think it's that great of a spot for Skaggs. So if he's going to be 85% on a 2-game slate, that's probably an auto fade for me. Like I mean, I thought maybe like 50, 60, something like that, but 85, because if Skaggs blows up, and let's say that you have Salvador Perez, and he doesn't even need to really blow up. Like, let's say Skaggs gets you like 12 points, but he doesn't go deep. He doesn't give up, or he gives up a couple runs, and you've got a Merrifield or Salvador Perez or Hunter Dozier. Someone takes him deep, and you've got them. The chances are people aren't playing Skaggs and Kansas City bats. You're getting a huge edge from Skaggs not being the nuts, and then you're also getting an even bigger edge if your guy takes him deep. So I would be taking some Kansas City bats against Skaggs at that ownership because they're going to be so low owned compared to that Skaggs ownership. So yeah, Tom is very sharp there. It would be Merrifield. It would be Salvador Perez, Hunter Dozier. I mean, anytime you can take hitters against an 85% pitcher, I think that you probably should do that in baseball, no matter who it is. I mean, that is an outlandish ownership. Yeah, going to be hard to spend all the salary without Skaggs, which will drive people to him. Yeah, and people, that's just sort of a mental block that people have really on any slate, is leaving some extra salary on the table. So I haven't made lineups. Now I almost want to play this. I've kind of gone back and forth like 4 times about whether I want to play this, but if a pitcher's going to be that highly owned and I don't like the spot, then I should probably be playing, even if it is an awful 2-game slate. So yeah, people will flock to Skaggs just because they want to use up all of their dollars. But if you want to leave $1,500 on the table, if you want to leave $2,000 or even $2,500, like, I don't think it's a bad strategy. If you want to stack Oakland or Detroit, you could stack up that entire game, or you can stack up some Royals, play Jackson, play Zimmerman. Like, you can make a handful of lineups with 2,000 left over, and you're going to be way different than other people if you don't play Skaggs. So that is an interesting talking point on the 2-game slate. I'm glad Tom brought that up. Wow. 85%. I don't know that I've seen that. You guys got any more questions for the main slate? Otherwise, we can be done with this. We'll be back for the live stream tonight with Chris and I talking this slate We'll see where Chris is at on certain guys. He'll make some lineups. He'll enter it in the rally cap, I'm sure, but need to get him making some better decisions as far as contest selection. He should be maxing out those single entries, not putting one lineup in the rally cap. So we'll see if we can convince him to play some single entry stuff tonight. But if no one has any more questions, then we will see you guys tonight. Check out the spotlight hitters, pitchers, stacks. We will have, like I said, the live stream. And yeah, so good luck on this slate. We'll see you back here at 6 Eastern, 5 my time. Good luck, guys.